Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Business Live. Coming up in this bulletin, International Monetary Fund warns recent tax cuts and abolishing some levies could hurt the economy in the short term.
From 21.9 to 20%, plus the other measures that compensate are eventually going to lead to an increase in a minimal increase in revenues.
We will be exploring how government can balance these tax cuts with revenue needs. Also in this bulletin, Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry reaffirms government's commitment to supporting local cement and steel manufacturers to produce at competitive costs without compromising quality.
Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry. I want quality with good costs and all the good things that they are doing to make sure that we have quality, yet good costs is commendable.
Plus, Securities and Exchange Commission pledges investor protection ahead of the corporate green and sustainability bond issuance.
I'll tell you that any corporate body that will want to issue the bond, we will do our work to ensure that the investor's interest is protected, so that when that bond is issued, the bond will trade well on the Ghana Stock Exchange, the value of the bond will grow, the price will go up.
We have details of these and more for you. Please stay on. Thanks very much for your time. I am Pius Kujobaka. A look now at our stories. The International Monetary Fund is warning that the recent tax cuts and removal of some levies could hurt the economy in the short term. Government in the 2026 budget rolled out some measures that reduced tax rates and removed other levies. The development will result in the country losing more than 6 billion cedis in a year. Dr. Adrian Alta is IMF's country representative, and he argues that there could be some initial shocks.
For instance, the impact on the revenues from the VAT reform, if you put in place everything, both on the removal and the reduction of the effective VAT rate from 21.9 to 20%, plus the other measures that compensate, are eventually going to lead to an increase in a minimal increase in revenues. However, the tax administration reforms, ITAS and the digital systems, those are going to lead to more revenue. At least this is the forecast over the medium term.
So immediately, we shouldn't expect an immediate impact on the revenue envelope in terms of government meeting its target. Because that's the concern by some of the experts who think that these reforms are good, but it's more of a medium-term impact than an immediate impact on the economy by the end of this year.
Only time will tell, you know. Hopefully, some of the benefits of all these reforms will be already seen in 2026. Hopefully. in terms of tax collection.
Francis Timoboy is a tax consultant. He joins us via Zoom for a conversation on the back of this. Thank you so much, sir, for making time to join us here on Business Live. Now, the IMF has raised concerns about Ghana's tax policy and its impact on revenue mobilization. Really, how can the government balance tax cuts with revenue needs?
So, Pius, thanks for having me. I believe that the government was aware because just like the country rep said, 6 billion Ghana cedis is going back, something that could have come to government. So government was aware of this potential revenue loss. So some measures that were rolled out if it is properly implemented, we believe that it can mitigate some of the laws that they're going to lose. For example, we've heard that the custom operations is one area that over the period we've heard of smuggling, we've heard of under invoicing. So serious technology together with AI is going to be deployed. We are told that by February it should start. And the purpose of this AI is to, flag potential areas where tax may be, going down the drain. We've seen complaints that people under invoice. So if the AI is able to, put together serious and huge data sets, it will be able to tell the custom officers that this person is under invoice and therefore they should go for that revenue. So I believe that government knows. So some measures are being put in place. For the first time, we've seen government embarking on sustained tax education, something that has been missing for a very long time. We've seen modified taxation being rolled out. My challenge is how all of this implementation will help mitigate some of the risks. But clearly, there's a risk that government may lose revenue, which is as a result of this reform that we have seen.
But are there alternative revenue streams that government could explore to offset potential losses from the tax cuts, really?
I think so far, God being so good, we are benefiting from our commodity prices. I mean, gold is doing well, and we hope that should sustain the government in terms of revenue going forward. But then the best bet is that government should be able to embark on this revenue mobilization locally, I mean, especially domestic revenue mobilization, together with the customs operation. We are told that currently custom is not doing well, but we're told that with this introduction of the digital tools, it's expected that about 45% increase in customs revenue will come to government if it is properly rolled out. We also expecting that there should be more, enforcement at the domestic level. We've seen some measures being deployed by the GRA. If it is sustained, hopefully government should be able to balance the revenue loss with what they have given away from the COVID-19, the betting tax, the emission levy. All of these things are serious revenue that government will have to balance. But like I said, the major test is in the implementation of these policies.
I agree. So to what extent, really, government's abolition of certain levies such as e-levy affects government's revenue and fiscal stability, which of course is paramount?
No, Pius, these were big revenue handles. E-levy was very big, even though it was very unpopular. E-levy was bringing more than 4 billion cedis. It's gone. COVID-19 and the recoupling of the levies all put together was about 6 billion. And these are big numbers. And again, because they were consumption based, they were continuous, they were more sustainable. The challenge is that it rather distorted the tax system we had. So if you look at the overall VAT, for example, that we're collecting, you compare us 35 countries, Ghana was among the poorest in terms of performance of the revenue target. So you begin to ask yourself, why is it that a developing country where consumption is taking place, and if you have a consumption tax doing poorly, then what is wrong? So certainly something was wrong with the structure, and that called for this reform. So we hope that the implementation would go very well, and then the long-term effects will come to government maybe in a year or two after the implementation of these reforms.
As we wrap up the conversation, what measures can the government take to mitigate potential economic risks associated with these very tax cuts and ensure sustainable economic growth?
Yes, I think one thing that we all expect is the continuous fiscal discipline. Government should not spend when the money is not there. We've seen this thing in the past where government does not have the money, but some way, somehow, pressure, they can't sustain the pressure, especially from labor and everywhere, pressure everywhere. So they end up borrowing and therefore creating serious deficit for the country. I believe that if they're able to sustain the discipline, expenditure controls. We've seen some audits of, payroll that is circulating around. If all of these things are through and they're able to sustain and monitor the expenditure, I think is one way government can do. Again, we need to block the leakages. Sometimes it's not just the revenue mobilization, but how it is spent. So by blocking the leakages and also creating trust in the system, obviously voluntary compliance will increase. So whilst we are looking at how we can raise more revenue, which we encourage the GRA to continue with all the policies, enforcement, we just have to also look at the way the money is spent. And with these two measures coordinating very well, I believe that we will still be able to pursue our developmental goals whilst waiting for the future benefits of some of these reforms.
Francis Timoboy, thank you so much for making time to speak to us here on Business Live. He's a tax consultant. Now, the Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, has reaffirmed government's commitment to supporting local cement and steel manufacturers to produce a competitive cost without compromising quality. The assurance was given during a working tour of cement factories and steel manufacturing plants, including CBI and IMF, as well as Reader Steel.
The factory tour to Continental Blue Investment Ghana Limited and CIMAF forms part of government's broader engagement with manufacturers following recent discussions on price stabilization in the steel and cement sectors. The Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, inspected production processes, assessed cost structures, and examined the use of locally sourced raw materials as part of Ghana's import substitution agenda.
It's obvious that CBI is into the business of research to make sure that the cost of production is minimal, and again, quality is assured. They are also conscious about the environment, which is very good in this climate change era. Any industry that is conscious of the environment must be commended. But I've told them, as Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, I want quality with good costs and all the good things that they are doing to make sure that we have quality, yet good costs is commendable. It will be recalled that lately I've been together with industry responsible for steel and cement in a price discussion. And so anything that they will do to ensure that they produce at a good cost, yet quality is high, is something that the ministry will support. And I think they are moving in that right direction.
The minister later visited Reader Steel to assess production capacity and challenges affecting steel pricing. Discussions focused on raw material availability, government restrictions on metal exports, and measures to help manufacturers take advantage of the recent stability of the cedi.
It is time for Ghanaians and investors alike to take a benefit of the stable cedi. And so I think that they did well last week by assuring us that they were not going to increase the price. We yet agree with them that it's not only the exchange rates that affects their pricing. We are willing and ready as a government to help them produce at a good rate so that their prices will be good. So I'm happy that they are using both ferrous and non-ferrous metals. It will be recalled that this year, the government of Excellency John Dramani Mahama, in our bid to feed the industry with non-agro products, has banned the export of non-ferrous raw materials in addition to the ferrous raw materials that was banned previously to ensure that we can feed our industry with raw material.
The minister says engagements with manufacturers will continue to support jobs, boost local production, and support consumers.
Let's now pause for a breather. We'll be right back with more. Hello, welcome back to Business Live. The Securities and Exchange Commission has reaffirmed its commitment to protecting investor interests ahead of the issuance of corporate green and sustainability bonds in Ghana. Speaking to Joy Business on the sidelines of the Executive Capacity Workshop in Accra, Director General of the Commission, Dr. James Kluche-Aveji, emphasized that the bonds are not government securities but are designed to support and stimulate activity in the real sectors of the economy.
The Securities and Exchange Commission has held an executive capacity building workshop in Accra to equip bank executives with practical insight into the issuance of corporate green and sustainability bonds. According to the Director General of the Commission, Dr. James Kluche, the bonds were designed to support the real sector of the economy once listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange while ensuring strong investor protection mechanisms.
We have taken upon ourselves to have training for the markets, what you need to do, which project qualify, which project does not qualify, and in order to prepare them to come to the market to issue the bond. The SEC on our part are prepared to receive any application, any prospectus from the market that want to issue the green bond. We'll follow it up and then make sure that they conform to the guideline that we have issued in 2024. And once they're qualified, we'll give the approval to the prospectus and they can go to the market and issue the bond. It's basically for the real sector, the corporate body, not for government. So we can assure you that any corporate body that will want to issue the bond, we will do our work to ensure that the investor's interest is protected, so that when that bond is issued, the bond will trade well on the Ghana Stock Exchange, the value of the bond will grow, the price will go up, so that tomorrow or in future, if you want to dispose of that bond, you make your capital gain. And so no fears for that. That is why SEC is there to protect the interests of the investor. This is not the bond that is going to be issued by the government. But in any case, if government want to issue it, we will still have to ensure that the right thing is done so that the investor's interest is protected.
The Division Director for the Gulf of Guinea and West Africa, Natalie Kosi Ekon, said the initiative is expected to accelerate capital market development and create employment opportunities across key sectors.
Making sure that we support the creation of jobs in the key sector, industry sector, where we see opportunity, like agriculture or tourism, working with our private sector clients. What it also means is that when you look at the status of our economy, the number of young people that need to have access job on an annual basis, the public sector cannot do it alone. And the private sector have a role to play. Across the different countries that we work, we're seeing the emergence of a new class of investors. But those investors need to have access to new product to be able to really participate in the economy. The opportunity of the green bonds is to offer to those investors not only attractive returns, but also participation in terms of impact.
The high-level workshop forms part of SEC's broader strategy to deepen Ghana's sustainable capital market by improving corporate understanding of the green and sustainability bond framework and its application to real sector financing and long-term investment decisions. The program was led by the International Finance Corporation, drawing on international best practices and relevant market experience.
The Bank of Ghana has re-emphasized its commitment to support the media in initiatives aimed at promoting credible reporting and well-sourced storytelling. Addressing members of the private newspapers and online publishers of Ghana, known as PRIMPAG, at a 2-day workshop, advisor to the governor of the central bank, Dr. Francis Kuma, pledged the bank's resolve to partner with the media in the economic reset of the government. More in this report.
Shot by the private newspapers and online publishers of Ghana, PRIMPAG, with support from the Bank of Ghana, seeks to empower journalists with key insight on some economic policies of the government. Speaking on behalf of the governor, Dr. Francis Kuma said monetary and financial policies are often technical, hence the need for the media to break down issues for public understanding. He assured of operating an open-door policy to promote information sharing between the media and the central bank.
Regarding timely clarifications, background briefings, and access to authoritative data and subject matter experts. Our shared aim is that every story about the Bank of Ghana is well-sourced and confidently delivered. These initiatives, reflect a simple conviction. That's the conviction that when the media succeeds, the public understands. And when the public understands, the economy functions better.
Minister in charge of Government Communications, Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, used the occasion to urge participants to continue with innovative steps in getting the public informed at all times.
And doing your bit to sustain our democracy. You may not appreciate the contributions you've made to democracy and governance as a whole. Some of you are the ones who have broken some of the most controversial stories and shown a light on some of the things that have defined our democratic practice. And I urge you to continue to innovate. I urge you to continue to remain principled. I urge you to continue to partner government and other institutions of state to collectively fashion out the best approach to running our country and delivering the sort of development that our people require.
The workshop was themed Researching the Economy, the Role of Journalists, News Publishers and Media Owners.
Now, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry is urging banks to simplify the process of accessing funds for businesses, citing excessive requirements as a major obstacle. President of the Chamber, Stefan Mason Abbas, emphasizes that removing these frivolous requirements would greatly benefit local businesses. He spoke to Joy Business.
I've always given the argument that if something is affordable, but it is not accessible, then it's equally expensive. That is what it is. Technically, it's affordable, but you can't access it. Then, by and large, it's expensive because you can't access it. So that is where I have been advocating for. I think the last time we had an encounter where the second deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana was present, and I made that announcement to her that yes, we want to appreciate them we want to appreciate the Bank of Ghana, the Ministry of Finance, and the work they have done to try in bringing down the cost of borrowing. But now a lot of work has to go into accessibility, and the accessibility is difficult because of the impediment the financial institutions themselves put in place for the private sector to get access to that funding. So it is not really an issue of cost, but it's also accessibility. And if you can't access the fund, then technically it's still expensive. Right. Okay, so the requirement of the banks, the conditions and everything they put, some of them, the collateral they even demand, all those things are things that are impediments. Somebody's building a factory, he's probably sinking a lot of money in building the warehouse or probably even importing machinery. And then also importing the raw materials becomes a challenge. So then the factory sits down and says that, look, we can't produce because we are not getting the funding. So it is the requirement of the bank.
And there are more stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Do visit the portal and get yourselves updated. I am Pius Kojo Baka. Let's connect at 8 p.m. with Prime Business.